This week, Superman exposes himself, Invader Zim, and a cape-off between Spawn and Doctor Strange. It's happening here and now on PREVIEWSworld Weekly.
What's up, PREVIEWSworld? It's Wednesday, it's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for PREVIEWSworld Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we're here every week to remind you guys to stop at a comic shop and get involved in what's happening in the world of comics. And of course, if this is your first time watching or you have enjoyed the show before, be sure to give us a like, follow, share, whatever to keep the nerd news coming.
Or whatever.
Or whatever. You know. All that social media stuff.
Right, stuff. Yeah. I mean, there's some social media you won't find us on, but that's okay too.
Yeah, well.
That's okay. You figure it out. It's all right. So I got some sad news this week, just to start things off, and I just want to say this up front. Tom Spurgeon, he's been the Comics Journal editor for a long time, or he was a Comics Journal editor for a long time. He passed away at 50. The reason behind it is still unknown.
Oh dear.
But I wanted to give him a little shout out because I remember reading his book, The Romita Legacy, like a few years back. He's been a fixture of the comics world for a long time.
He's very young too.
Very young, actually, yeah. And there is some speculation as to why or how he passed, but you know, that's not really the place here for this. So, but you know, I just want to give a little bit of a hat tip to him.
Absolutely.
Like he's a comics historian, but I think it's particularly important to just note his passing because you know we're kind of in the age of trolls right now, right? Of people who are in the comic book world or in the comic book industry or you know whatever, comics journalists. You know, not to make this a soapbox, but who like, you know, their job is pretty much trolling. But this is a guy who's actually about the art form, about elevating it exactly. And like, it's just unfortunate. So, you know, he had his own festival. Like, of course, he contributed to a number of books. He did a book about Fantagraphics and a couple other things.
Really cool.
So, yeah, you know, just worth mentioning.
Yeah.
On a brighter note, some really cool news, actually. Prince of Cats, which is a Romeo and Juliet adaptation by Ron Wimberly.
Oh, I am here for this.
Yeah, like it's about Tybalt. And
Tybalt.
I knew I was going to say it right. I knew I was going to say it wrong.
Pull it together, man.
I know.
I don't even know your Shakespeare.
I definitely don't know my Shakespeare. So that's okay.
Too highbrow for you?
Too highbrow. Actually, I
Irony,
like
Shakespeare is really lowbrow.
I actually like Shakespeare, actually.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's funny. Like I was talking to somebody about this, and I kind of feel like this might be sacrilege to some people, what I'm about to say, but like, it's like, the best way I can describe it is like, you know how Quentin Tarantino's known for his dialogue, right? It's kind of the same thing, right? Of course, by a couple hundred years, but at the same time, like, but he was the guy who kind of like made it like, no, we don't have to write dialogue the same way. We can write it a very specific way.
He absolutely did his own thing.
Right.
Had his own words. He made up a whole bunch of words that we use in there.
Exactly.
And I mean, the entire thing is like dirty jokes interspersed with like drama, and it's basically like a soap opera.
Right,
to
exactly.
Honest,
No, it really is,
most of the
100%. Like, it's high drama.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm actually.
Anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, we went off on a tangent.
Shakespeare tangent.
Shakespeare tangent. Didn't expect that from PREVIEWSworld today. But yeah, I mean, that's always I've always understood it, and that's how I've always appreciated him.
Yeah.
Because as a fan of dialogue, like, that's really where it started.
I really love when people take Shakespeare and make it modern.
Yeah.
To make it more digestible, because reading Shakespeare is rough.
Yeah,
Always has been
be,
rough,
right,
because the language is completely different from ours now.
It's not realistic, I guess,
well,
for
it's
lack
not
of a better
colloquial,
term.
it's not modern, right? It is old English.
Yes.
So it's rough reading it in its original form. So when people put it in books and stories and stuff that are more digestible, it's really cool because then people get to experience it without having to slog through the original language,
versions. Yeah,
which a lot of people won't do.
No, that's true.
So.
And actually just so happens that Ron Wimberly's Prince of Cats is exactly that. So way to bring it home, Thea. But it's cool because it just turns out, there was an announcement last week that Spike Lee is going to direct the Prince of Cats movie.
Cool.
Which I think is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to see, I want to see Spike Lee do Shakespeare.
Yes.
I want to see Spike Lee do a urban hip hop version of Shakespeare.
Yes.
And I want to see Spike Lee do this version of Shakespeare. You know, because this really is sort of like the side story. So like it's not about Romeo and Juliet, but it's particularly this particular character.
I love that.
So yeah, I'm very curious about that. And if you haven't read Prince of Cats, pick it up. It's from Image Comics. Oh, it is now from Image Comics, and it's out right now.
Cool.
One more thing before I go. And we're going to get into what's at comic shops in a second. But I thought all this stuff was worthy of note this week. The Russo brothers. We like the Russo brothers here, right? We love the Russo brothers.
They're good.
You know, of course, they directed Endgame, Infinity War, Winter Soldier, et cetera, et cetera. It just so happens that they're also producing a documentary about the Marvel versus DC rivalry.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
Already off the bat, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm like, yeah, a documentary that's about this. It's based on a book called Slugfest. And so now they're going to bring it to the screen.
Cool. cool.
But the other cool thing about this is that, like, by documenting the Marvel versus DC rivalry, you're also kind of documenting the rise of nerd culture.
Absolutely.
And the rise of the superhero film.
Yeah.
So it's very, like, wide range.
I am here for that.
So I'm very curious how
Bring
this
it
is going to
on.
come out. So if you want to find out more about that, check out PREVIEWSworld.com. There's a little news bit up there on the site. But now it is time for What's at Comic Shops. Anime is here, and she's going to show us what's at your local comic shop today. Check it out.
Hey Previews World, Mia here. Do you know what new comics are coming out this week? No? Well, let's take a look. Here's what's at comic shops for the week of November 20th, 2019. For more info on these titles and others, head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases.
As always, thank you, Mia. If you want to see a list of the full rundown of stuff you can get at your shop this week, head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases. What you been reading?
So I picked the last issue of this, like about 2 weeks ago. But I'm glad the trade's out now because, I'm all for this. #danger. And the premise is basically what I mentioned before. It's these kids, like they're pretty much trying to be superheroes.
I love it.
And so their whole concept is like, look, we got to create a supervillain because we're in a clickbait culture. So we're not going to do the work to become superheroes. We're going to create a supervillain to make ourselves look big. And I love it. It's Tom Payer. He wrote one of my favorite comics, The Authority. This is Ahoy Comics, of course, which has really become like an extension of all the fringe cool stuff that Vertigo was doing.
Yeah.
And of course, these guys, both Tom Payer and Stuart Moore, who are behind Ahoy Comics, also are behind. We're also behind some of the Vertigo's biggest creations. It's a cool one, and like I love the concept, and I'm actually really excited to get to read all the issues together because I kind of missed out on getting them individually.
Yeah.
But worth checking out.
Absolutely.
What are you looking forward to this week?
We've talked about it many times on the show, and it has been a big deal in the comics world for sure. Kanto.
Kanto. Yeah.
So this is the final issue of the first series run here. And of course this is from David M. Boer and artist Drew Zucker. And it's the finale. Here we go. Kanto is coming to the end of his quest. And his quest has been the fact that his folks that he grew up with have been enslaved by some beings and have been sort of turned clockwork in a way. And his beloved's heart was stolen by some bad guys. So he's been on a quest to figure out basically how to free his people and save his love. Nice. And he's getting to the end here. He's got to battle the Shrouded Man, which you can see there on the cover, and hopefully come out the other end.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I know that they announced a sequel to this one already, so clearly a lot of people love it.
Exactly.
So, Now look for Kanto. Pick up the trade because I'm sure, actually I know it's coming around the corner in like another month or so. So definitely check it out if you missed all the issues.
Absolutely.
Also, I pulled a Thea this week.
Uh-oh.
I judged the book by its cover.
Oh.
But I'm curious about it because the cover was kind of awesome. We were actually talking about Prince of Cats earlier. I'm a big fan of like street art, like street culture art, street urban art, like and stuff like that. Like that's stuff that usually grabs my attention pretty quickly. And it just so happens that 5100 is a book that's out this week. Cool. And it actually features like a really kind of funky cover.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of made me kind of go like, it actually reminds me a bit of Jamie Hewlett, the artist behind The Gorillas.
Sure, yeah, I was just going to say it's got a lot of manga and a lot of gorillas going on there.
Yeah. But the cool thing is it's about these kids. Actually, there's a trend this week with me. It's like these kids who are jerks. That seems to be my picks this week. But it's about these kids who are like basically stuck in limbo, and they're trying to get their way to heaven, but they're jerks.
Yeah, so likelihood slim, right? They got to really pull out the stops and get good.
Right, and so like, they were pulled away from their being alive like pretty quickly, and now they're stuck in like this underworld, and like they're trying to.
I love stuff like that.
trying to be decent people, but it's not working out too well. They're just not in their nature.
Nope.
So yeah,
One of my
5100.
favorite books is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called The Wish List, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
nice,
similar concept. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Like, I'm also just a fan of awful characters. So I like when characters are just like, oh, you're not really redeemable, and then you find out that maybe they are. So that's okay.
Put in the effort.
Yeah, put in the effort, exactly. It's a good place. It's a good life lesson, I think. What else are you looking forward to this week?
So this is a little holiday spirit business here, since we're coming up on December.
It's true. Oh God, what happened?
I
Yeah.
don't like it.
Jeez.
Anyway, so Hazel and Cha-Cha Save Christmas. So this is the first little side story from the Umbrella Academy, which is of course from Gerard Way, alongside Scott Alley and artist Tommy Lee Edwards. And so of course Hazel and Cha-Cha are the bizarre assassins that first appear in the Umbrella Academy, and they're on a quest basically to discredit Christmas. So it just seemed like a fun little, and I loved Hazel and Cha-Cha as characters. They're really fun.
Yeah.
And Umbrella Academy is really fun. Right? I'm glad they're doing little one-shot side stories like this. So
yeah, flesh out the world some more. I mean, there's like there's tons of like just fertile ground to like world build off of that. So yeah, I was actually blown away when when I started watching the show, I didn't realize that Mary J. Blige was one of those characters.
Yeah, and she does really well.
Right, it just completely threw me.
I guess I feel a bit like a jerk for saying it, but she did really well.
I mean, that's not a given.
And apparently did a whole bunch of her own stunts.
Oh, okay. All right, Mary.
Yeah, like, get it, girl.
All right.
That was real cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
411 on Mary.
Yeah.
Big ticket items this week, right? So Batman White Knight has been a big hit, and now we're getting a nice little one-shot to complement the sequel that's currently out. It's called Von Freeze, and it's about Victor Von Freeze.
Nice.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, I know a lot of people from Batman the Animated Series, like, just love Von Freeze. Might not like him this much in this story, though, because he's Nazi-affiliated in this one. Because this is like an Elseworlds type of thing, the whole Batman White Knight universe.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it's written by Sean Gordon Murphy, who does the regular Batman White Knight book. But the other
cover,
that's a great cover, right?
So good.
And I'm more than certain that's a Sean Gordon Murphy cover.
I want that as a poster.
That's a great one,
That is really good art right there.
But on top of that is Klaus Janson. Now, Klaus Janson did The Dark Knight Returns. So, like, I mean, you kind of are getting like a modern favorite for the Batman universe in Sean Gordon Murphy and a classic like a creator in Klaus Janson. So yeah, and this is a nice little one shot. So if you're not that familiar with the Batman White Knight world, this might be a good one to pick up.
A little nice jumping on point.
Yeah.
Very good.
What else we got this week?
It is the season of the Star War.
Yes,
so
it is. It is the season.
We've got the movie coming out soon. We got the Mandalorian just dropped. So all the Star War.
All the Star War.
All the Star War happening, including Star Wars number 75.
There you go.
So this is writer Greg Pak and artist Phil Noto, and it's the final issue of this particular series. So we've got the rebels on the run doing their usual stuff, and Vader is trying to figure out what Luke's up to, and he's predicted quite a bit of it up to this point. And can he finish predicting it? And yeah, a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Star Wars. I love that.
Here's some money. Go see a Star Wars.
Right, there you go. Right. No, and it's actually, this is like the finale of this current leg of Star Wars, because like the previous books have been A New Hope to Empire, and so 75 marks the end of, okay, we've gotten to Empire, and now we're transitioning to a new series which starts in January, I want to say. Don't quote me on that.
I think so.
I think it is January, which will be Empire to Return of the Jedi. So this is kind of like the middle point we're getting right here. Also, out this week, Deceased, which is a hardcover. Now, this was kind of a breakout hit. I mentioned this before on the show. It was a breakout hit for DC. Like, I don't think anybody really expected it to be this popular, but it turns out people love zombies.
Who knew?
Who knew, right?
Who knew?
That's crazy.
Nobody knew that at all.
So, so the cool thing about this is like the hardcovers collecting, the miniseries, it like was actually like a breakout hit.
Yeah.
And we're going to give it away.
Yes, we are. As usual, we got a fancy giveaway on the show, and we have the hardcover copy of Deceased. It is fancy, it is beautiful, it is still in the shrink wrap.
It is, untainted.
Which is a first for us, I think.
I think it is. Too good for this world.
Yeah. Vanna White here.
There you go.
Beautiful. So if you guys out there want to win this beautiful copy of Deceased, let us know if Deceased took on the Marvel Zombies, who would win? Hit us up on social media, wherever you can find us. Let us know your answer, and we'll pick entries until next week, and one of you we'll win.
Yeah, and give us good answers. We always say that this show is supposed to be comic shop talk.
Yep.
And so it's it's always nice to get like some goofy nerd debates going.
Absolutely.
So yeah, tell us what's
opinions.
up. Tell us what's up. Actually, we got a nerd debate a little bit later.
That's true. That's true. And of course, before we forget, which we've done lately,
yeah.
last week's winner of the Overstreet Price Guide to Batman is Anthony Lawrence, who answered our question of how did you discover Batman as...
There's a lot of chaos going on
yeah.
here.
First Batman I can remember, Batman number 194. First blockbuster, classic cover.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like I like how if you look at the comment itself, it's like he paused to think about it and then answered, and replied under his reply. I was like, I appreciate your thoughtfulness, sir. Thank you very much.
He's like, I'm going to answer this, but I need a minute.
Yeah, there you go. I appreciate that.
Good.
He gave it consideration.
Yeah.
But we were talking earlier about nerd debates, and we got a nerd debate about Doctor Strange.
Yes.
But first,
Doctor Strange trailer.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is a trailer for Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme #1. Check it out.
Check it out.
With Doctor Strange, what I'm really looking forward to is telling smaller, more human stories. We want to get more in the heart of Doctor Strange and what it's like to have to make the decisions he has to make every day.
What if, after all this time as the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange used his magic to fix his hands? What?
Doctor Strange now has 2 jobs. By night, he's the Sorcerer Supreme, the master of the mystic arts. But by day, he's now also the world's greatest surgeon.
Doc practices at McCarthy Medical Institute, which sharp readers will recognize as the same place where Jane Foster, aka Valkyrie, practices.
The hospital is going to become a focal point for so many different characters in the Marvel Universe. It's going to be the new icon in Marvel's New York.
Not only are we putting a brand new spin on this classic Marvel character, but we're also going to get dark.
With Mark's depth of the Marvel Universe, with his knowledge about Doctor Strange, with his interest in magic and the occult, bringing that all together tells such an amazing story.
He's able to take epic superhero action and balance it out with personal and emotional drama that's so inherent in the story.
Kev Walker is the perfect fit for this. His style is so human and yet so horrific at the same time.
From the minute you see the beautiful Phil Noto cover to when you open it up and you get engrossed in the story and see Kev Walker's beautiful art carry you through from page 1 to the last page, this is everything that fans love about Marvel. This is the world outside your window.
The story should appeal to new readers. We are bringing you in from the ground floor right off the bat.
Whether you've never read a Doctor Strange comic before or you're only familiar with him from the movies, this first issue has you covered.
It's a Doctor Strange you've not seen in a long, long time. And make no mistake, this is, at heart, a horror book. It is scary, and it's dealing with things that you and I can really grasp and really be afraid of.
The key word for this book has been gothic. We're going to show some of the creepiest and scariest images that's ever been seen in a Marvel comic.
That was a trailer for Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme #1, and that's going to be available in your comic shop on January 29th. Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. Mark Waid, can't go wrong with that. He's actually made Doctor Strange's home, so.
Cool.
Like, yeah, he's been all over it. Yeah, absolutely. So, time for news.
Yeah.
Some cool stuff happened this week. You're probably wondering what we were talking about. Why does Superman expose himself? Well, you're about to find out. Thea's here with the news.
Task Force X, nicknamed the Suicide Squad, unites some of the DCU's unlikeliest villains for its bloodiest series ever. This new version of Task Force X by writer Tom Taylor and artist Bruno Redondo is already riddled with new villains, any of whom could die on a mission or be dispatched by the mysterious leader who has replaced Amanda Waller. The squad's new mission is to neutralize a group of international super-terrorists known as the Revolutionaries. But when the surviving revolutionaries join the squad, all hell breaks loose. The Suicide Squad doesn't just need to worry about surviving their next mission, now they have to survive each other. Suicide Squad #1 hits comic shelves December 18th. Next up, this February, follow the exploits of one of the most feared women in the galaxy in Nebula, an all-new 6-issue series from rising Marvel star Vita Ayala with art by Claire Rowe. In Nebula, the daughter of Thanos and sister of Gamora will finally get her time in the spotlight, and she has her eye on a very secret device. But will one of the galaxy's most notorious bounty hunters get to it first? Marvel fans know that Nebula rarely lets anyone get in her way. In an exclusive interview, Ayala said, "Since the movies kind of reinvigorated interest in her, we've gotten to see her pop up more and more in the comics. And now, here's her solo title where all we do is really dive deep and explore who she is and why she does what she does. Being able to be in her head and fill out all the corners has really given me an appreciation for her, and I want other people to also love her and want her to do her best." Nebula #1 by Vita Ayala and Claire Rowe is on sale this February. Legendary Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, acclaimed artist Zach Howard, award-winning colorist Dave Stewart, and letterer Clem Robbins are collaborating on a sequel to the iconic Hellboy story, The Crooked Man. In Hellboy and the BPRD, The Return of Effie Kolb, years after he banished the infamous backwoods demon known as the Crooked Man, Hellboy returns to Appalachia when a young psychic warns Tom Farrell of looming danger. But the Crooked Man's house is no longer empty, and threats both new and old simmer in the Virginia woods. Zach Howard said, "Mignola asking me to draw the sequel is an opportunity I have not taken lightly, and I've given my absolute best to live up to his wonderful creation. This will be my final sequential art as a freelance comic book artist, and I couldn't ask for a better end to this chapter of my career." Dark Horse Comics will publish the debut issue of the thrilling two-part Hellboy and the BPRD, The Return of Effie Kolb series on February 19th, 2020. And finally, the secret is out. The Man of Steel is set to reveal his secret identity in December's Superman #18, a game-changing issue already making headlines. DC released some interior art from the issue that shows Superman holding a press conference. In Superman 18, by writer Brian Michael Bendis and artists Ivan Rice and Joe Prado, Superman will publicly disclose his secret identity as Clark Kent, drastically changing the status quo of the Superman family of titles going forward. The effect the news will have on Metropolis and the DC Universe as a whole will be felt for months to come, including January's Superman Heroes one-shot, showing how Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, the Justice League, and more react to the revelation, and February's Superman Villains one-shot, showing the response from DC's antagonists. Bendis has made it clear to the press that this will be a lasting change for the iconic superhero. Superman #18 hits comic shops December 11th.
You know, Bendis, he made a reputation, he made his name outing Daredevil. The first story arc that he did, it's about the first story. It's like the first couple of issues of Daredevil that he did. Matt Murdock gets his identity exposed to the world. So this is kind of, I know some people are going to accuse him of repeating himself here, but it's kind of interesting with Superman, because who's gonna come after him? I mean, clearly everybody's going to come after him.
But they already do that.
Right.
So.
But it's not the same thing as when Daredevil does it, because Daredevil's actually runs the risk of getting taken down. Superman, on the other hand, has interesting ramifications.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what reactions he's going to have people do.
Right, yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't need a secret identity, I kind of feel like Superman might be that character.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of heroes that are like, oh yeah, he's out, and now we don't really have to worry.
Right, exactly. Also, I think most of the Justice League knows who he is at this point. So.
Let's be real.
But now it's time for toys.
Yeah.
Natasha's here. She's going to show you what's at your local comic shop today, and then when we come back, Thea's going to talk to us a little bit about one of her favorite creators. Check it out.
Hey Previews World, Natasha here, and I want to give you a look at the new toys and collectibles in stores today. Here's your Previews toy chest for the week of November 20th, 2019. That's not all. Before heading to your local comic shop, be sure to check out PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases. There you'll find a complete rundown of everything a toy collector could possibly want.
Thanks, Natasha. And if you're looking for more toys, collectibles, or statues, head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/toychest. And now, you're going to be seeing double because Thea's about to introduce us to this week's Know Your Heroes, this month's Know Your Heroes.
Yeah.
This is actually a cool one. So I actually really like this one.
So?
I learned some things. First of all, I learned how to pronounce his name properly.
Well, that helps.
That's important. But second of all, I learned something about a book that I've heard a lot of people talk about, but I've never really delved into. So yeah, check this out. Know Your Heroes, Jhonen Vasquez.
Keeping demons at bay, screaming from on top of a wooden box, trying to keep cool in the face of perceived insanity. And that's just one story. Think you know what I'm on about? Well, stay tuned. I'm taking you on a journey through the mind of Jhonen Vasquez and his myriad of the wacky and macabre. Jhonen Vasquez was my personal gateway into the world of comics. His works are dark and humorous while also holding a mirror up to our society and the world we live in. Let's start this list with his most well-known work, Invader Zim. Beginning in 2001 as a show on Nickelodeon, Invader Zim would later become an ongoing comic, and most recently, a 2019 film. The comic continues the original show's storyline centering on an alien named Zim from the planet Urk, and his mission to conquer Earth along with his malfunctioning robot servant, Gur. Meanwhile, Zim is constantly antagonized by Dib, a young paranormal investigator who's determined to stop Zim from succeeding. Invader Zim has spawned its own fan convention called InvaderCon, and a plethora of official merchandise, including toys, clothing, collectibles, and accessories, among many other products. Despite the early cancellation of the show due to increasing popularity and above-average merchandise sales, it's now regarded as a cult classic. I absolutely did not spend too much time singing the Doom song or in general acting like Gur. I have no idea what you're talking about. Filler Bunny. Labeled as the product of insomnia-fueled madness, Vasquez's 3-issue series called Filler Bunny is about a lab rabbit called, you guessed it, Filler Bunny, who's forced to fill up pages of a comic book by insane scientists. This genetically engineered happiness rabbit suffers through 3 entire books for your contentment and distraction. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Vasquez's other claim to fame is most certainly his, and also my, first comic series, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, which tells the story of a young man named Johnny C as he explores the psychological and possibly supernatural forces which compel him to commit a string of murders which he always seems to get away with. We're introduced to a plethora of characters along the way, most notably his neighbor, a little boy he refers to as Squee, a brief romantic interest, Debbie, and comic strips written by Johnny himself of everyone's favorite ranting lunatic stick figure, Happy Noodle Boy. This series is rife with dark humor, gore, and social commentary, and therefore not for the faint of heart. To be honest, I very probably shouldn't have been reading this in middle school, but here we are! I'm fine, I promise. Vasquez rounds out his library with spin-off works derived from Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, a 4-issue series titled Squee, centering around his neighbor, and a full-color double shot, I Feel Sick, about his romantic interest, Debbie. Needless to say, you probably need to have a certain range of interests for Jhonen Vasquez to make it onto your shelves. But if you love the Zim cartoon or anything I just described, you should still be able to catch most of his older works and the ongoing Invader Zim comic at your local comic shop. And, of course, be sure to keep an eye on PREVIEWSworld for more Know Your Heroes. Thanks, me. Good job. Now we're going to give you guys a little look at Red Mother from Boom Studios. Check out this trailer.
And that was Red Mother from Boom Studios, out December 11th. And that cover is really freaky. I actually am a big fan of. There's actually 2 covers, and they're both really freaky because she has a giant hole in her eye.
It's good.
So
I'm really excited about this book.
Yeah, no,
I was definitely looking at it and thinking, this is for me.
This is for you. No, yeah, it's got some supernatural elements, and absolutely just attention grabbing from the get-go. But now it's time for Social Swamp.
Fact.
So we mentioned earlier Doctor Strange, and we said we're going to have some comic nerd debates, right? And so you guys didn't disappoint. Hello. Check this out. This week's Social Swamp.
All right, guys, it's time for a showdown. This week's Social Swamp, we asked you guys who would win in a fight between Doctor Strange's cape and Spawn's cape. We got some pretty great responses. Adam Bunch said Spawn's cape versus Doctor Strange's version of the carpet from Aladdin. Hellspawn armor is gonna make that cape bleed.
That is so disrespectful.
Yeah, it's
but
rude.
Pretty funny.
Just because it's got some kindness.
Yes.
Stephen Payton said, I'm going with Spawn's cape. With all the wild stuff happening to his suit, cape included, I feel like there's another level just waiting to be unleashed. That's fair.
That's fair, yeah.
Steve J. Hunter said, Doctor Strange's cape has the wisdom of the ages, knows the mystic way, and has traversed the unknown.
He's like period and innocence.
He's
just like, that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. He wins. And finally, Jay Sandlin said Spawn's cape would win because Strange's cape is just too nice and sensitive. And here's a good repeat. This is like putting the carpet from Aladdin against Satan's personal bath mat.
Spawn for the win. All right, hashtag Spawn. I mean, I actually kind of want to see this, actually. I don't know in what situation that Todd McFarlane's Spawn would cross over with Marvel Universe as Doctor Strange, but I would, even if it was like a 1-page comic, I'd be down to see this.
It'd be really fun.
Just for the heck of it.
Just for
somebody,
the giggles.
we live in the fan culture now. Guys, somebody on Twitter or someone fan art that.
Up.
Come on. Because I can't do it. You don't want me doing it. But we're almost done here, actually.
We are.
Yes.
Nearing the end.
Time to wrap it up. I got to say, this episode.
It's been a day, guys.
It's been a day. I had too much coffee.
We've been trying our hardest.
Can we get a round of applause from Kyle? Kyle.
For putting up with us.
If this makes any sense afterwards, it's because it happened in editing. Thank you, Kyle. We appreciate you. All right. Let's wrap up the show.
Yes.
So we can end on a high note. What do we got?
We got comic shop shout out, guys. If you guys want to have your local comic shop shouted out on the show, let us know who they are. Use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS, and you could get a feature. This week, we're going to leave you with some photos of Dr. Nose in Marietta, Georgia, and that was sent in to us by Stephen White.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Stephen. And that's it.
Yeah.
Mercy killing. Let's get out of here. Thanks for joining us this week, guys. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we'll see you at the spinner rack.
Thanks for watching Previews World Weekly. If you like the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.